We got ourselves a batch of shinies, Commander.
Welcome to Coordinated Fire Episode 37, a Star Wars Shatterpoint podcast where we brought a cadre to help with our legendary encounters. How's everybody doing today?
Wow, what a throw out to what we're talking about this week.
I never said I was subtle.
I like it. As everybody can see, we have a plethora of guests with us this evening, minus a Sean. So we thought it fitting that we were going to bring on all the people we play Legendary Encounters with and play Shatterpoint on, a weekly basis. So I'd like to welcome Josh, Brandon, and Ryan in order on my screen.
Which we'll see if that actually is how it ends up on the video.
It definitely won't be, but that's order on my screen. Thank you guys for jumping on.
Thank you.
Yeah, always happy to be here.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, Brandon, we've had you on before in the hot take episode. Josh, you were on recently. Yeah. Ryan, this is your first time.
This is.
So welcome. I swear I had a whole plan. I insisted every time that it came up to do armor as a primary. We were like, we're going to have Ryan on for that. Awesome. Well, it's amazing to have you guys here. Titus, what are we doing tonight?
Well, I was tempted to have it be all about the narrative league since we got everybody here who was in the narrative league. But with Sean missing, we're going to have to do something a little bit different. This week, we're going to be talking first about what we've been up to lately, because it's been a lot of different stuff. Then we're going to touch on a spoiler that just came out. I think it was today, right?
It was today.
Yeah, today. Yep.
And then finally,
today as of recording, it'll be a few days as of when people are listening.
Yeah. And then we'll get into our main topic, which is talking about legendary encounters.
I'm excited. As for what we've been doing lately, a lot. My answer is a lot. I think as we touched on last episode, we're doing some exploring. We're taking a look. We're trying some other games. We've got some Shatterpoint in that time. So we have a ton to talk about. First up, 2 Thursdays ago, had 6 of us, Sean included, and we all played a game of MCP.
Mm-hmm.
For most of us on this call, so for Titus, Josh, and kind of Ryan, this was your first games of MCP. Ryan, I know you kind of played one before.
Yeah, I played one before, and that was it.
This was your second. For me, I've played quite a bit off and on. And Brandon, you have what we learned was nearly a full collection.
Probably 30 models shy.
That's pretty close.
So that's pretty close.
That is close enough. You have had in and out play like I have, from my understanding, but haven't played in a while?
Yeah, as soon as Shatterpoint was out, it was game over for MCP.
MCP sat on the shelf, but you kept up with some models at least.
Yeah, I just buy characters I like now.
Characters you like, things you want to paint. I like it.
Which it's helping us get into the game, so I can't complain at all.
Yes. So it was Brandon and myself kind of walking people through, especially with some recent changes to rules and setup and how initiative works, which were my first time going through those, but was a ton of fun. So I'm excited to go through kind of the rotation and see where people's thoughts are for MCP. Josh, I'll throw it over to you first. This was your first game, and you and I played.
Yep.
You were playing X-Men, and I was playing Defenders led by Daredevil.
Yep.
So tell us about your list, and then a little bit about how was your first experience, and I guess in comparison to Shatterpoint as a game.
My takeaway from just the experience was this kind of really felt the same experience as playing Legendary Encounters. It was just a fun game. It didn't feel like it was a good learning game, easy to quick pick up on, and it was just enjoyable, even though it was slowly going one-sided very quickly at the end. But and we didn't get a full game quite in, but it was still enjoyable. There was I can't think of anything bad from the game from my first experience. I played with Cyclops as my leader. I had Wolverine, Storm, and Gambit, who was definitely a thorn in your side.
Oh my God. and this is flashbacks. That Gambit was wild. I had not played or seen Gambit on the table since his rework, and that was last time I had seen Gambit. He definitely didn't do that.
Because it was round 2 that he got the double kill.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess I'll take into that one because Josh, that was our game. To your description there, it was a ton of fun. It's what I've always loved about MCP is every character feels exactly how it should. Like if you say this is what this character does and this is the kind of person this is and this is what they should do, they're pretty good at showing that on the tabletop, which is important for nailing a theme, especially like Marvel. Characters all feel great. Important to note that we did not play with team tactics cards as it was the first game, and typically how I recommend the first game because they almost all of them feel like gotcha moments very, very intentionally. And it's an important conversation at the start of each game to figure out what gotcha moments your opponent has for you. But yeah, Josh, it was a ton of fun. It was nice to get it back on the table again for me. But from the conversations you and I had during that game, I think we both got a taste and reminder for me on what MCP dice feel like.
Yeah, there's some spiky moments and some awfully cold moments.
The ups and downs. I think we had some ups and downs pretty equally, at least, which is nice how that balances out. Daredevil did a big area attack, and it completely changed the tempo of the game from there. But was fun. It looked great. Was nice to play. I'll throw it over. Ryan and Titus, you guys played together. Both of you, Ryan, you had one game before. Titus, this was your first game. How was the MCP experience? Ryan, I'll throw it over to you first.
All right. I had an absolute blast. It does get me, though, like you said, with the dice, how much it can swing back and forth once that game starts get rolling. But I brought in the Spider Foes with the Sinister Six. Doc Ock, Rhino, Venom. I had Mysterio and Bullseye. Because that's
because you needed two, and
yes.
They don't have one. Yep.
And Titus had regular spiders. It was
super thematic game.
It very much was. But yes, getting into it, a lot of spiky rolls, and then once it started getting to that point where like I'd hit him and then he'd hit me back just as hard, and a lot of back and forth, but otherwise a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that back and forth is part of how the power system works in MCP, right? So for those listening that are here to listen to a Shatterpoint podcast, power in MCP, basically for every damage you take from enemy units, you gain a power. And that power is spent to use your hero's ability. So typically you taking a big hit leads to you doing a big hit back, which leads to a very back and forth kind of big swing play, which does feel very different from a Shatterpoint, right? Shatterpoint does things in some similar ways with the struggle tracker, but doesn't land quite the same way in how big of a swing these powered up heroes can be in MCP. It's definitely one of the more interesting differences between the systems. Titus, you were in control of the spider people.
Yeah. So I deliberately played without Peter Parker because he's the least interesting of the spiders to me. So I actually had the higher cost Miles Morales. I had Miguel O'Hara. I had Gwen, and then Spider-Ham and Spider-Man Noir. And it was, so first of all, positives. I really liked the game. It was a lot of fun. It was very thematic. Like Kyle said, they really nailed the theme on these guys. I also like that there's definite upsides to how the system works. Having just that uniform, basically having 2 lives each. There's Shatterpoint, it's variable. Being able to just flip the card, know that it's on the other side. They could potentially have changes on there. I saw a couple of them do, but by and large, it's literally you're just flipping the card so that it looks different. That part's kind of nice. I like that they use the range 3 ruler. That's a
yes, you mentioned
that's a good change. But like it, I also learned that I don't think I would ever want to play this competitively. Like it's not for me. It is well designed, it is balanced, and I could tell that just from like the one game, but it's also just I have a new appreciation for the fact that your average MCP player or Shatterpoint player, I understand why MCP MCP players didn't like Shatterpoint at first because they have a very different design philosophy, despite having a lot of similarities. Like, MCP is a lot more about the spikes and valleys. Just every part of its design is a lot more variable.
Yeah, a lot of competitive play for MCP outside of list building, because list building is a big part of competitive MCP, and having a game plan, but it is deciding when those spikes and valleys happen. And part of it is being measured with your spikes, because you need to be mindful of which models of your opponents that you're powering up and which ones you're letting get those big turns.
And that makes a whole lot of sense. Like, there's a lot of depth there, 100%.
There's a ton of depth there. But Titus, I think you and I are pretty on a similar wavelength for this, where coming from playing MCP, a lot of my perspective into Shatterpoint was, wow, they learned a lot and applied a lot of that learning to a system with some similarities, but with a ton of differences. I almost want to describe it as Shatterpoint is a more measured experience compared to MCP. And to the point you just made, I actually can understand and see how people could view that as a negative coming from MCP.
It's designed, well, I can't say for sure it is, but it feels like it's designed for different audiences. And neither is necessarily better or worse than the other. They're just catering to different people. We had a lot of MCP people come over, say, oh, this game's crap, and then
I can say
go on to be
definitively
very
from my side
vocal
that
about it.
I think Shatterpoint is a better game. And I will say that confidently from my side. And I see Brandon nodding, and we haven't passed it that way yet. So Brandon, I will pass it over to you. You had a game against Sean.
Yeah, so Sean was doing X-Men. He had Professor X, Gambit, which is very similar to the other Gambit that was told.
Yeah.
Beast and X-23. And I think there was one more, but I can't remember the last one. And then because I was kind of handing out the models to everyone where needed, I kind of went with the Avengers list just because there's no way to run out of Avengers no matter how much I hand them out.
Fair.
So I ended up going to Sam list. However, I did the wrong thing and went high threat Sam instead of low threat Sam. So it was Sam, War Machine, Bullseye, and Hulkbuster, which was a mistake. We found out laterwards because I did not have the activations for that game. Since we and Sean have played a decent amount, this was more of a regular game, but it was very clear that I don't play Avengers based off of this, so there's lots and lots and lots of things I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. And this game also made me think I miss Shatterpoint dice because it was, I don't know, it's weird because I know dice can be very spiky in MCP. I found it was the opposite of spiky in our game, where I found everything was low rolls and there was no, like, even with the exploding crits, it wasn't actually achieving much out of it.
So
sometimes
I
that
had
spikiness goes the other way.
Like I had a lot of thoughts about that actually, because the dice in MCP just have a lower amount of results on the dice that
they
do anything, whereas the expertise system means the majority of the sides on the Shatterpoint dice will do something. That's where a lot of the spikes come from.
The dice are very heavily favored in attacks in MCP because half the dice do something attack-wise, but only like 3/8 do it on defense. So unless you're playing like...
It's not that big of a difference in terms of between Shatterpoint and MCP, though. It's about a 15% difference in terms, like, proportionally between attack and defense for both games.
Yeah.
It's just that the attack and defense dice are better for both.
Yeah, and like defensive pools in MCP are very low dice pools. You're 2 to 4 dice.
Yeah, that is a huge difference.
Which is a huge difference, especially again with the low success rate on the defense.
I went on a whole tirade about it on the Discord, so if anybody wants to know the math.
Anyway, definitely some differences on attacking and defending because it's using that same dice pool. The defense definitely is on the lower side. Like, how often defense is 0 is not a small amount, which for me as a defensive player in any game that I play doesn't feel great. Hence why I play defenders. I get access to rerolls. I have -1 damage abilities. I got lots of cool stuff.
That's why I like Domino is his other person. Now I remember. Domino is usually because I'm an X-Men player as well, and Domino covers a lot of that, which is why I like Domino.
I think in short, we all had a lot of fun, but also wouldn't play this game at a high level.
The hobbying is great, though.
The hobbying is
I'm
great.
really
They're
enjoying it.
Incredible models.
They have color. They have colors other than white, black, and brown.
Don't forget gray.
That's true. And like you get the occasional lightsaber in there in Shatterpoint, but like
You do.
it's doing a whole bunch of different colors has been real nice. And these guys are also teaching me how to do washes, so all sorts of interesting new stuff.
Titus has taken some steps as a painter. It's been nice.
Especially with spiders, washes are amazing.
Yes, I've definitely noticed the difference. I did that a couple nights ago, and oh boy, big difference.
Honestly, Titus, if you even want to go back to some of your Shatterpoint models and just throw that wash on it, it'll make a huge difference.
I might do that.
Awesome. Well, that was a little longer on MCP than I was expecting, but I think really good chats. I guess we'll cover the one game of Shatterpoint that happened. That was Brandon and I last week. Brandon, that was a really fun game.
That was really fun, especially there's a bunch of firsts we got to do in that game as well.
We did. Brandon, you want to jump into your list first?
Yeah, so I did Kiadi, Shakti, and Wolfpack with Vader 1, Clans, and
it was Wolfpack on the Vader side, and then Padawans on the Kiadi side.
Flip. Yeah. And so it was a whole Kiadi Vader list that I was trying out.
Which is a ton of fun.
It is.
I played Separatists, so I played Riff Dooku, and Dooku was taking the updated B1s. So I tested out the new ability card and attack tree card, and spoiler alert, I did not roll 4 expertise in melee and get a crit, so I don't know how that attack card update's going so far. But the ability card was incredible. Brandon, I think you and I both walked out with the same opinion on this. This is game changing for B1.
Like massively changing, especially when you were able to like place them really well. There was nothing I could have done against those B1.
Yeah, and placing them really well is just kind of getting them in a position where it's really hard to shove or force push. And from that point, you can't kill them. You kill them and they just get back up. You killed them twice. I made sure that I had the force to spend. And it was an interesting thing because, like, playing against Dooku and even into Separatists in general, the game plan has always been wound the supports. That is how you deal with it. And all the additional we were testing that theory, and all of the additional movement from, like, because I had Kraken in the list, and just having them be a live body anytime I was able to move a Separatist or do another activation with a Separatist. And then it creates an interesting thing with Dooku, especially where you doubly do not want to wound anything but supports, but you don't get much return on wounding these supports. You did take out the Aqua Droids in fair fashion in the other way, but
then they went back up right away.
How was the force costs on the B1?
No problem with Dooku.
Okay.
Without Dooku, I think is a valid question, but with how well that synergizes, I think Dooku's the answer.
I think if you would have done not Riff, you would have been fine as well with that.
Yeah, and on the flip side, if I go Grievous, I'm going all in on wounds, and Riff is gaining me force. So I think it's okay. I think, like, Titus, I remember when you were playing Riff Grievous, there was a lot of circumstances where you ended up with just leftover force.
Oh, yeah. Like, Separatists don't traditionally use a lot.
Yeah, I think you'd be hard-pressed to not be playing Riff, whether that is with his box or not. He's so good. And he makes those support activations even more impactful. So I'm a really big fan of Riff in current states. But Dooku felt good. He was a tanky body on a point himself, but he brought the force. This was a close game. Very long, because we also played strategic positions, which was super fun, and I would very much like to play more of. So yeah, Brandon, to your point, this was a lot of firsts for both of us for this game, testing out the B1s, strategic positions, but was a ton of fun. That was my first non-legendary encounter game of Shatterpoint in a bit for me, and was very nice to get back in the saddle. So
Yeah, it was almost 2 months for me. So
yeah, we really need a local event to fire, because I am jonesing for some games, and obviously I think we'll see a lot of that post rebalance. So I am
We're a
excited
couple
to
weeks
get
away.
playing more again. But that same night that Brandon and I played that game, you three played your first game of StarCraft. Well, Titus is not your first.
Yeah.
But for Josh and Ryan was your first game. I'm going to pass it over for how was that, and I'm going to step away for a quick second.
Yeah, so I was teaching these guys a StarCraft game, and since the rules for StarCraft are pretty flexible on number of players, we did a 3-player free-for-all, which was cool because we got to have all 3 factions, get to have that fun StarCraft 3-way fight. And Josh was kind enough to 3D print off a whole boatload of proxies.
Yep.
So I don't know if you happen to have one on hand.
I do not. It's
No,
still in
okay.
my case. Was it in my truck, ready to go at any time?
Yeah, so it's just a bunch of like 2-dimensional standees, but they're real nice. I was very impressed with them.
Actually, I have a 3D printed one. Just
There you go.
a little
Yeah.
standy,
And then
very
it goes
thin,
on a base.
and it's perfect.
Yeah. So Josh played Terrans. Ryan played Zerg. I played Protoss. We did a 1,000-point game, which is the skirmish size for StarCraft. 3x3 mat, so we got to use the same Shatterpoint mats, and it was a lot of fun. I don't know, what you guys think? I'll go with Josh first.
I honestly had a blast. It's like playing the game all over again. It was fun playing all 3 different factions, a little bit of everything in it, kind of get to know the rules, and it's just so easy to pick up.
What about you, Ryan?
I had a great time playing a little bit of the shenanigans with your Protoss, just making sure me and Josh fought each other.
You guys both went directly at me, hoping to take out the more experienced player and pincer me and get team up on the guy who actually knows what he's doing. And it was my first time playing Protoss, so like I was real nervous, but I managed to use their like faction ability for mass recall and just pull my entire army back into reserves and just leave them there for a turn, so these guys had no one to fight but each other, which I didn't see that ability having much use in a one-on-one game, but in a free-for-all it's pretty powerful.
You basically just looked at either direction and like, oh, I'm surrounded. Nope, I'm gone.
Yeah. Ryan still absolutely crushed us in terms of points, though.
If we had went all 5 rounds, I would not have kept up, though. I
No,
was almost
you
out of
lost
models.
like half your army. But because you took the points that I abandoned, like in terms of point scoring, you had so many victory points. Like you got pretty close to the auto win condition on there, where if you're 10 ahead, you win.
Yeah,
So it was interesting.
A blast.
I can't wait to do it again, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm
Already
looking
got
forward
a
to getting the
map cut
models
down.
too. Because like the models look real good. Seeing them all on like Reddit and Facebook and whatnot, like people who've gotten them already, they look sick.
Like I just
Makes
have
me
the
sad.
promo model. Was it just in front of me right now? And I am just jonesing to paint this. And
That Zeratul looks so good.
I've actually looked at it and went, I could use a day off work to paint this.
I am jonesing to hobby those models. I have paint schemes planned. I have basing schemes planned. I am very excited, and I did miss most of that conversation. But in conclusion, game super fun. Want to play more?
Oh
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Okay, great.
No, I'm not looking forward to assembling 42 Zerglings though. That's going to be a couple days.
Looking at the
42.
assembly, I don't think it'll actually be as bad as you think it is.
It's just a lot of repetitive tasks. That's the main thing. Like
Titus, didn't we
The ones-
establish that you can put 132 in one list? Isn't that the number
Yeah.
you need?
yeah, something like that. Yeah, I know you keep telling me I got to do that, and I want to be clear, but I don't know that I want to assemble all those. I think
I'll
I'm
just
going to
keep
be
throwing it out in the universe.
I'm going to be borrowing a bunch of Zerglings from other people for an event at some point, and
Fair.
I got proxies.
Did we touch on what everyone's ordered? And what they'll be playing?
No, we
No.
haven't.
Josh laughed. Josh bought
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
Next.
Josh bought everything.
I bought almost
mentioned I'm
2
going
of
Zerg.
everything.
I had mentioned Terran last time we talked about it, but I ended up grabbing the Protoss bundle as well. Because I have a problem, right?
I have restraint. My wife
I'm
might
going the
disagree.
Zerg
but-
route.
Yeah, you're going Zerg. Brandon?
I very uncharacteristically have not gone all in, but I am going all in on Protoss. So I have like 2 founder boxes for Protoss, plus 2 stalker boxes, plus Zeratul.
Give it approximately until you actually play through those campaigns before you buy more things.
No, I'm gonna stick to one army with this one.
I'm really considering that once it's out, I might get a Protoss skirmish list because they're a lot of fun. I don't think I would main them, like I wouldn't take them to events, but every now and again pulling them out would be a blast.
I'd be more than happy to let you borrow mine because I bought
Yeah, that's
2 of
fair.
everything, including founder boxes.
But Josh, you're planning on going Terran as your main?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. Okay. I'll
I'll
be
be
the...
whatever way the wind blows that day. But yeah, probably Terran will be my main focus.
But I'm sure we could talk the whole cast about this, but we should probably move on to the next
Probably
thing.
move on. Shatterpoint's a cool game. And we saw some spoilers. Now, we saw Morgan Elsbeth full preview article earlier today. We knew most of this, but the end of her identity is new information.
Yes.
And her attack cards are new information.
Yeah.
Titus,
So
you still
if
want to
you-
go through an overview?
Well, I was going to say, if you want to know the abilities, obviously go read it on the data drop or go back
we
to
also did
our
a
previous
we did an
episode where we
episode
talked
on it.
about it.
Yeah.
So, but the main thing is with her identity, we didn't know what happened when she became wounded. We just knew that there was some kind of trigger. Now we know that when she becomes wounded, one character in this unit may dash and then may make a 5 dice melee attack. It does not specify who you can melee attack, which means it's any enemy unit, which is real nice because in the past, any like self defensive revenge triggers have always been, oh, you have to hit the thing that meleeed you. And as we've seen with Maul and Vader, it basically means this ability doesn't exist unless your opponent's relatively inexperienced. Whereas with Morgan, you're going to be able to find a target more often than not, unless you get pinned.
Yeah, there's definitely people are going to have to pay attention to when they wound her. And there's so many benefits to wounding her, like making her force abilities start costing more, at least requires her to take more damage to use them.
And when she's wounded, she can't let other people use her health pool as force points. So
there's encouragement to wound her, and then discouragement to wound her. She looks super cool. I think as a support, let's say support piece.
Well,
for that identity.
Let's quickly touch on their stance cards because it does change how she plays. I don't want to go through them like in depth or anything.
Yes.
But we have 2 sides to her. One is Wrath, which is more about the crits. She gets crits on expertise, she gets crit mitigation on defense, and it's kind of your stereotypical I do a lot of damage type
It
tree.
is a damage tree.
She does have a lot of healing on it, which is a commonality here. She just seems to be a healing character, but it still goes up to 10 damage with the expertise, which is a lot.
It is a lot of damage on the full tree. I will say that there's a lot in common here with Mother Talzin's Wrath tree. Same name. That makes sense. And that is notably the stance you never go on for Mother Talzin. And there are
Neither
reasons
this one.
for
Neither
that.
This one.
I don't like this tree. It's with the extra dice she's capable of getting, with the possibility of Vader 1 being on the other side of the list, is the best case scenario, I think. 5 damage and 2 heals on 3 successes is nothing to write home about. The 5 damage on 2 is good. Having that middle part of this tree just be 2 heals is where this tree dies off on me as an effective kill piece.
100%.
even
It's
on
to feed your manipulating hand, though. That's what it's there for. That's all
But-
it is.
you're not getting that strain until 4, and I don't think you're consistently getting 4 on this side.
I definitely agree with that. It's, to me, this is the side for trying to pick up kills on your 5 dice attack. It is not one you want to be attacking in as your combat action.
Now, again, she can get herself to 10 dice with her own
Mhm.
ability on this tree, which is a great amount of dice pool. The expertise conversion isn't great, so that roll can just go poorly. This is also her worst defensive side comparatively, unless you desperately just need to mitigate crits. Again, capping out at, what is it, 11 damage?
I will
6,
note
9.
on
Yes.
the crit mitigation, there's a lot of
10.
units like Cassian and the 212 out there that just go, "Oh, I don't roll normal hits at all."
Yes, there are occasions. 5 and 5 on the dice here. Just again, there will be times to go for this. You
Mhm.
absolutely need the damage. You need the kill. If 5 damage is your break point, great. But 7 damage in particular being your break point on 4 successes is not the break. It's not the right break point.
No, for
Having-
sure. Like it's there's a use case here. This is not her better tree.
But on to Dathomirian training, which mimics very highly to Talzin's Great Mother tree, which is where you keep Talzin all the time and is where you keep Morgan most of the time. And this tree is great.
Yeah, it's got mobility, it's got a lot of pushes, it can heal up to 5, 6 with the expertise. So like it helps her afford all the force discounts. It does pretty much everything you want except deal damage. And even that 5 on 3 results is the same as the other tree.
It is. And you're also getting 2 shoves or a shove and a jump for
Mhm.
your troubles.
No, the expertise conversion is really good. You get 2 hits on 1, 2 hits and a heal on 2, a crit, 2 hits and a heal on 3. So like you're always coming out even or better.
And on the defense, we've seen enough characters just start off with 2 expertise to know, or two blocks on 1 expertise to know that just creates a pretty high ceiling or a pretty high floor, I should say, for a defensive roll. The fact that it doesn't really scale up from there is rough when you roll high expertise, but will likely lead to about 4 blocks on average.
Yep. And having the potential to reposition on your expertise is always something that will give your opponent pause, even
This
though it's
could
a
happen.
remote
Yes.
chance. But sometimes you don't take that risk because it could just lose you the game.
But the 4 success path on this tree of I'm doing 5 damage, 3 shoves, and a pin is my ideal for a tree.
And if you go 5, you could do the full Barris and push 4 times in one attack.
4 shoves, which honestly, with that expertise conversion and her extra dice, will happen. But she's got a ton of healing on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
The potential for, again, she's going to be doing damage to herself, taking the free abilities, helping other people use their force abilities. She's going to use this healing and keep herself fresh. So that's been a lot of Titus and I talking. So let's throw it to the round table here for a second. I know, Ryan, you spent a decent amount of time with Talzin. Do you see a decent Talzin pairing here?
I feel like this is going to be fun.
It's going to be fun.
I think she's going to pair well with Talzin. I'll have to get a closer look at the rest of her box, but just working with that whole Talzin box, I think she's going to fit in well there.
I can say she would love Coordinated Fire Exposed,
She sure would.
because that is not something that many things get anymore. I'll do the plug for Sean here because I know he is very excited about Morgan and this whole box for various Empire pairings. Josh, what's standing out for you, and what do you want to try her with?
Definitely want to try her out with Vader for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
But especially with her identity, the fact that if you move her up and say you're 1 health left, you can just go, not something else activated. Cool. I want to get an attack. I can't reach with that unit. I can take the damage on this, wound her, and now I get to advance an attack. So she can be a threat even when it's not her actual activation. You can just, okay, cool. I'll take the damage to make an attack.
Yeah, it hadn't occurred to me that you could do that, but that is 100% an option.
Yeah.
She gets the dash and attack even if you wound her yourself.
I think it'll be very deadly to leave her with 2 or 1 health remaining. And if she's in a great position, she can be a big threat range at that point.
No, that's a clever use. I hadn't thought of that.
Also, can we just throw it again? I know we said this in the first episode, but manipulating hand for 2 damage is the best ability conversion in the whole game.
And she's
it's
going to do
pretty
it for
good.
free, basically.
For 2 damage. 2 damage.
So what are you thinking,
2
Brandon?
damage. Well, like I said, I mentioned before, those healing abilities is literally to power her force generation. That's all it's there for, is basically treat those 2 heals on both sides of the tree as in free force power, because that's all you're using it for. And I'm probably going to want to try her with Talzin. It maybe will solve the shortcomings of Savage in that list, because Savage is rough with no pushes.
Yeah. It sucks though, because he's not a Night Sister, so like he can't get the benefits of her tactic.
He is not getting those benefits, but he's
No, the
getting
rest is still good.
the rest of the stuff he's getting. And the fact that you're also potentially getting his force abilities for free with her as well is nothing to snuff about.
Yeah.
Especially with his high health pool.
The one thing I'm looking forward to with Morgan, and the one that I know no one else has mentioned, is spending 2 damage on her to use full recovery with Luminara to heal off all damage off her. So take 2 damage, then go to full health.
Okay, but if you're taking Morgan Luminara, I'm on board for this. What does that list look like?
I mean, I don't know what the rest of Morgan's box looks like, but Luminara, I'm pretty sure, is just Crosshair and Night Sisters.
Okay, we go Night Sisters.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I mean, it get the coordinated fire expose. You're not getting any Republic synergies, so like,
So there's some other options that I've been poking at for what I want to play her with. Because honestly, from her card, she doesn't require anything specific. She gets a slight buff if the cards are moving as a Night Sister or Night Trooper, but she doesn't require anything.
no, it's true.
Heal's pretty big though, especially with a list like this.
Yeah, especially when you get multiple of them. Like a list-wide heal is quite strong.
I do think there's some interesting play from an Empire perspective. Again, we need to see some, other than attack trees, we know the rest of the box, which again does look great.
Mhm.
But she can also take Moff's box, which we know is an Empire highlight,
Yep.
which opens up a ton of really cool Empire options. I'm interested in her box because we also like having the extra Dathomirian tag
Mm-hmm.
on the Night Troopers.
Are the Night Troopers Dathomirian?
They are not Dathomirian, but they want to be near a Dathomirian. So having
Gotcha.
another Dathomirian primary has benefit for them. And I know Talzin has been an obvious conversation. I want to explore Maul.
Asajj would also be interesting.
You want to explore Ball? Oh my goodness!
I know, bold. Because what I want to do is take advantage of Maul not spending any force, Morgan not personally spending any force, and having this force battery to use. And I think there's a couple directions you can go with that. One of those is Maul can take Third Sister and Fifth Brother, which
Okay.
I just like the vibe we're going for there, but also looking at some more options for Mandos, because Morgan can take Bo-Katan, the covert Mandos.
Yep.
And
Or you can add
Yes.
Aura Singh to this,
Yeah.
and that creates a lot of interesting choices.
that is another secondary. That is a Dathomirian.
Question mark.
I know we play
Okay.
with. There's cool things. Again, there's Dathomirian tech. There's Empire. The Mandos thing I think is interesting to me because playing covert Mandos without armor is always a feels bad because they get real expensive when they start taking wounds. As Ryan was recently reminded that all units in Shatterpoint do.
Yeah.
And I think she helps solve some of that problem while giving you a different path to go on, like maybe just Morgan, Talzin, and Mandos.
Yeah.
I agree because of Maul.
Or Maul, but
Mhm.
even just Morgan Talzin. I think there's some stuff to play with here. I like, and we saw this with Balin as well. I like the direction of really limited by era, but not limited by tags. And I think it creates some interesting list boxes.
And I'm sure Cam will eventually play this with Lando and somehow blow us all up with it.
With its
I don't
nice
know
new
what
shiny dice.
I don't know what synergy will be there, but he'll do it.
She's not a scoundrel, at least.
Yeah, but she's already Empire.
She's already. But I was thinking, what if you could make her a rebel?
Yeah.
Lando's weird.
Yeah, he's weird. Anyhow,
I don't even know what's going on. It's exciting to talk about new Shatterpoint.
Mhm.
It is fun to talk about something coming down the pipeline and have something to be excited for. I think, again, especially if she's landing in an environment that is a little toned down from what the top of the game looks like right now, I think there's going to be a ton of fun stuff.
Well, we should get cracking on to our main topic.
Something about legendary encounters?
Yeah. So,
Titus, what is a legendary encounter?
legendary encounters is a 2v1 game type for Shatterpoint, wherein the one takes on the role of one of the core set heroes as like an alternate designed card. They're a galactic legend. They have 20 hit points. They have special abilities. The Shatterpoint deck is just extra things they can do.
Sure is.
Meanwhile, your other two players take what's called a cadre, and it's basically a Shatterpoint list without the primaries. But that's 4 support units, 4 secondary units across both players. And they get 2 turns to each of the legendary encounter players 1. So it ends up being, like, it seems like it should be lopsided in one way or the other, but it rarely seems to work out that way. Every time we've played, across all of us, it's come down to a single turn.
If I didn't
Every
win
time.
this turn, they were winning the next.
Yeah.
Every time.
Every time. So it is frankly astounding to me that they've balanced it that effectively, but it's a blast because the person playing the hero or the villain in some cases gets to do all kinds of crazy showy stuff, and then the other players get to have that really cinematic, like, resistance fighters or stranded squad of clones fighting to the last man, trying desperately to accomplish their mission. It's, in both cases, it's a lot of fun.
I think universally, I know everybody here is in agreement with that this mode is a ton of fun. And if you're a little burnt out on meta or anything like that, print out these cards and give this a shot. I cannot recommend it enough, and we'll go through some of the reasons why. But if you were on the fence, if you're a little burnt out on meta, if you need some excitement for Shatterpoint and you haven't tried this yet, get it on the table. This is such an incredible amount of fun. So taking a look at how this differs from core Shatterpoint, obviously there are 3 players, and I will say, just as a group of 6 people that regularly get together and we are all adults and have life things, we end up with an odd amount of people for a game night very frequently. And I wish we had this sooner, because the amount of times someone just stayed home because they didn't have an opponent or came to say hi, went home is definitely a fair amount. And just being able to have something for those odd amount of people game nights is incredible. I think the cadre players are playing a lot closer to regular Shatterpoint than the legend is. Their goal is to hold objectives. That is really or interact with objectives in some way, depending on the two missions you're playing. The Galactic Legend, unlike regular Shatterpoint, or most lists in regular Shatterpoint at the very least, your goal is almost entirely to just kill things. There's some exceptions with Ahsoka, but overall,
you still need to hold points or you lose really quick. So in practice, it is closer than that suggests. But you score points by killing.
You score points by killing. You need to, as Legend, be killing one thing a turn basically every time you activate, which is definitely not how core Shatterpoint works most of the time. But I think as we've explored this and because I think we've all had an experience to interact with every one of the legends so far, at least most of us. We've seen multiple cadre lists, whether we're on the legend side or not. So what stands out about what we like about it? Brandon, I'll throw it over to you first.
So I guess for me, because I've only done one game, so take this with a grain of salt. But considering that when we played our game, Kyle, it felt like you were steamrolling us.
So I was Anakin.
Yeah.
And that was you and Ryan?
Yeah.
Yes. And you guys played all bounty hunters.
Yeah, we wanted to try all bounty hunters. And while that did work, it still felt like you were steamrolling us. But the reason why I bring that up is because we were still a turn away from winning. And you don't get that with Shatterpoint. So that's what I really, really like about it. Like if you're getting steamrolled in Shatterpoint, you're getting steamrolled. But
Yeah, so I was playing Anakin in that game, and I had a 3 wound turn with Anakin, which definitely put me ahead for a chunk. But you guys came back really quick because I went into that next turn after with there's no target alive anywhere near him. Which led to I did a lot of movement and got the right card to be able to get to something to hit, but it didn't connect. And then that led to you guys having a pretty big swing back the next turn when it came to your score. And that is how every one of these games has felt. And Brandon, to that point, and Titus said it at the beginning, no matter how much it has not felt close, it became close right at the end. Ryan, I'll pass it to you next. You've had the chance to both be the legend and the cadre a couple times now. What do you like about it?
Both sides are very fun. I love absolutely playing the legend because you just get to do all sorts of crazy things.
Yes.
Fast movement, lots of attacks. Maul's great. I've also experienced the receiving end of Maul from Josh. And playing as cadres is great as well. Like you have a teammate to work with, you work through tactics, things you're going to do, and try to plan out this overwhelming force coming at you and like what you have to do to score these objectives and try to take control. And like you were saying, Kyle, every game comes down to that one turn, and it feels so good whether you win or lose because of that.
Yeah, no notes. It does. Every single game, even the games where I'm like, oh, we're starting to get this, and it's spiraling a bit. It then doesn't by the end. 100%. And Maul is a beast. I will say, so every Galactic Legend comes with a support unit. Asajj is the B1s. Maul has the Supermandos, Ahsoka has the Clan Kryze, and then Anakin has the 501st. I was actually pretty impressed with the 501st. They're nowhere near their current in-game counterpart, but they were decent. But from seeing Maul twice, the Supermandos are the best support of that any of the legends get. By
I don't know. I still think it's the Clan Kryze. Having lockdown on them is absurd.
the Clan Kryze are up there, but both Mando supports are very good comparatively to those B1s.
Yeah.
Those B1s. Josh, what about you?
So I've been on both sides. I remember Ryan and I were up against you playing Asajj.
Yep.
For the very
was the
first
first game, yep.
And I remember going halfway through this game and looking at Ryan like, how do we pull this back? Like, we're just getting absolutely demolished. And by the end of the game, we were one turn away from either you succeeded on your attack and you win, or you fail and we would win next turn. And then it felt the same way with me playing Maul. It just almost felt like going through an episode of Clone Wars. Playing the legendary encounter, it was just thematic. You got to be the character from the actual show, and going up with like a group of clones, like it just felt like you're playing out your own episode.
It's thematic. And I think, again, Josh, you compared, when we started talking about MCP, you compared it to this. I mean, I think to that same point, it nails the theme, super thematic, and just a ton of fun.
Yeah. You get so much enjoyment whether you win or lose out of this. It's just, you're having a blast with 2 other buddies playing it.
100%. So flipping the perspective a bit, everyone's had a chance to be on the cadre side as well. I think list building is super interesting when it comes to 4 secondaries for supports. And I think I've seen everything on the table. We've seen rebels, we've seen bounty hunters, separatists, a couple republic, and some of those are just because keeping it thematic is definitely fun. I do think the cadre players need to work together because I do think those cadre lists having synergy between them is important.
Yeah. So, like, one thing that's important to note, your ally still classifies as allied units for tactics and abilities.
Yes.
So coordinated fire, stuff like that, it's across the entire cadre, which
is
makes a
huge.
huge difference. It really makes up for the lack of primaries because you can have a lot of list synergy across there.
And I think every time we've had that synergy in all of these games, Ryan, Josh, I think the least synergy was in the first game that we played with Asajj and you guys playing, or no, Ryan, you did Mandos. Yes, that was the one where we didn't have quite the synergy. Because Ryan, you were playing Mandos and Josh, you played mostly Bad Batch stuff.
Yeah.
And it definitely still worked. I think now that we're a little more comfortable with the system, I do think that not having the synergy between the two cadre players could be too much of a disadvantage against the Legend. Any other thoughts different than that?
Like, the game still ends up being relatively close, and I don't think anyone is playing this enough to be like hyper competitive at it.
No, and
So
I'm not
I don't
saying
think
treat it competitively.
no.
Play the thing you want to play.
So, like, if you play this 2-3 times, I don't think that disadvantage is really gonna manifest all that strongly.
But Brandon, Ryan, I know when you guys played Bounty Hunters last time, you guys definitely felt the lack of out of activation movement you had access
That's what
to.
I was going to say, was you need to focus on movement as a cadre player. Like, it was such a terrible, terrible feeling when you couldn't get people out. Because it's kind of like key operations where your guys are probably going to go once, maybe twice that game. And so you got to make each turn count. And so if you can't do anything outside of their turn, it's a big, big detriment to your game plan.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And to that point, the most fun I've had it as cadre and the most success as cadre, separatists feel great here.
Separatists are amazing in this mission.
Incredible. The secondaries do everything you want from a secondary in this mode. Everything has a decently high health pool, and that can escape some of those legend wounds. Yeah, the separatists felt incredible. So if you're sitting there being like you really miss separatists on the table and they're collecting some dust on their shelf, this is an incredible reason to bust them out.
The B1s got nerfed, though.
Did they now?
Yeah. Well, they have less hit points, and you don't want them to be awake when the legend goes again.
Okay. Fair. Maybe we'll see some other changes. Who knows?
AMG, we need more B1 buffs.
Go B1s. No, I think that we touched on things to keep in mind during gameplay. I guess negatives, or what aspects do you think you could use some work for the game mode? I guess I'll throw it over to you first.
So, I mean, there's the obvious one of like, I would like a few more options for the legends.
More missions, more legends.
Yeah, like more missions, more legends. But even just being able to have an option of which minions you're taking. I know Ahsoka can take the Fire First or the Clan Kreese. If every legend there had an option between two sets of minions, I think that would add a lot of longevity to this. And like that, I don't think would be nearly as much work as doing like whole new legends, but just having a couple minion options would be nice, because then you can decide what kind of play style you want and go into it that way.
I just want more is most of my feedback. Does anyone have anything else that stood out?
I think we're all on the same page as both those topics he's brought up.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we know and we've heard that both Luke and Vader are coming. I was definitely hoping to see that at Adepticon. So I
think they were testing them at Adepticon.
Okay. I'll take that as something.
Yeah. Kylo better come with a legendary encounter card. That's all I could say.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if Kylo and Rey are next on that list. And I guess that jumps us to our fun topic. If you could see any character in the game become a galactic legend, what would you want to see? Ryan, I'll throw it over to you first.
I'm gonna go with the obvious here. It'd be the Armorer or Mando. So those are my top picks.
Mando would have been cool. Near the top of my list too. So either one would be really cool. I hope the coverts are busted there too.
Yeah, they should be.
Josh?
I was thinking about it today, and I'm kind of torn. I'd actually like to see kind of early stage Clone Wars Dooku or Grievous.
Grievous would be really cool. I like either of them.
Would be incredible. I would love to see it. That would be top of my list too. Sweet. I'll throw it over to Brandon.
So mine's very similar to Ryan's, but slightly different. I am not choosing a primary. I would personally like Darksaber Bo-Katan.
Yep, that's the winner. Yeah, there is absolutely nothing that says it has to be a primary.
No, because they aren't primaries.
They aren't primaries. That's a great segue. Titus, thank you for bringing that up because that is a good one to chat about. And I will get to my want here in a second, but
Yeah, I've
rant
got one
for
too.
2 seconds. For what could use some work is there is not a lot. There are enough abilities in the game that interact with a specific type of unit in the game. Most of the time, that being an enemy primary unit. The Galactic Legends are not a primary unit, and it makes some characters near useless. Poor Nadar stands out.
Yep.
As
The
wow, this is a blank card.
Yep. Both Django and Boba Fett also get hit with that. Savage gets hit with that. None of them are as bad as Nadar, but yeah, it's rough.
Unfortunately useless character. There was also and Titus, you weren't around for my game with Ryan and Brandon, but IG-88 and spending momentum or the cost of momentum.
Because there is no momentum.
There is no momentum. I
just let them just not penalize you.
It just doesn't penalize you.
Okay, that's pretty cool. It does make Bodhi have a blank ability.
It does make Bodhi have a blank. So there's a couple interesting ones. The key operations specifically call out how they deal with momentum. I don't remember for legendary encounters. That might be just
because key operations has momentum as part of their mechanic.
Yes, fair.
So they don't have to call it out. It's used.
Yeah. So there's a few abilities with question marks in here that I'm just not sure we'll get answers to in spite of an otherwise really great system.
Yeah. I don't think it necessarily needs to be something they put much focus on, though. Like, it's a casual thing. You're never playing this competitively. So it'd be nice to have those answers, but
as was decided with our game, Ryan and Brandon, we said, this is the most fun way to do this, and this is how we did it, which was IG-88 just got to use this with no penalty all the time.
And we needed it.
We did.
But was a ton of fun. Back to the wish list of characters. I have a duelist because we got the full core box. We know Luke and Vader are coming together. So I'm going to pick a pair. And I would love to see Kanan and Grand Inquisitor.
Ooh, those are good ones.
Both options. Both have a ton you can go on. Both would have really cool stuff to take against them thematically. That's the one I want.
A Grand Inquisitor should still have just an awful ranged attack because the only time he throws a saber in the show, it's just a complete whiff.
Yeah.
So for my wish list is changes up the format a little bit. It would be no minions and have Han and Chewie as like a dual legend. So you don't have a minion, you just have 2 legendary characters.
That's doable though, for sure.
I would love to play that because Han and Chewie are just such an iconic duo, and being able to have them both running around like chasing after stormtroopers would be just so in line with the movies.
Would be great. That would almost open up that Mando with Grogu as a minion. Would be fun.
I don't think they want people going around hacking down Grogu though. So.
No, but even if Mando became a legend, Grogu just having more impact, like with abilities and stuff, would be really cool.
Through the cards.
Yeah.
You hear that, AMG? We want more legends.
Yeah, like I had a blast every time we played this. Even if AMG doesn't make them, this is something where I would be happy to try out community made cards. Like normal Shatterpoint, I'm pretty resistant to it because it is kind of like my competitive format.
And it is a maintained and balanced game.
And like with Legendary Encounters, you make a cool legend, I'll try it out. Yeah, that sounds like a blast.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I would definitely play with that. Honestly, guys, thank you all for being the cool people I get to play these games with. Exploring Legendary Encounters has been an incredible experience, very different from our exploration of key operations. Legendary Encounters has been great, as has been trying other games. So first off, thank you all for jumping on and sharing the journey we've all been on, and both playing some new things in Shatterpoint and outside of Shatterpoint. But this has been, the whole Shatterpoint thing has been a incredible journey with all of you. So thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And without this, I wouldn't know all of you, except for Ryan. I am stuck with him. With that, you got to meet our entire gaming group here that we have played Shatterpoint weekly with for the past nearly 3 years. And if you want to continue chatting with the group, everybody here is in the Discord. So come join the conversation. As always, the link is in the show notes. And come hang out with us. Have a good night, everyone.
Right.
Night.